What's going on, guys? I'm Sway and this is my Pansonic GH5 handheld rig. Okay, so I'm going to do this video a little bit differently. Most of the videos that I've seen just show the rig completely assembled like this, and then the person goes through and explains all the pieces, which, don't get me wrong, I love that. I love the explanations. That's kind of why I'm here and why I got inspired to do this video from seeing other ones like that. The only problem is it's kind of hard for me to understand why some of the pieces are there or what needs the person had that caused them to buy those pieces. So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to break down every piece of this rig, lay everything across the table, which is annoying, by the way, and then I'm going to essentially go through my thought process and my logic behind why everything is here by putting it together in the same order in which I had purchased it, if that makes any sense to you guys. So if you're down for that kind of thing and you want to see how to get your rig looking nice and sexy like this one right here, because I mean, look at that. That's sexy. So if you also want to have a sexy rig, then stay tuned for the rest of this video. And this large medley of stuff that you're looking at right now is everything I need to make the rig that you just saw before. So every cinema rig has to start with a camera, because I don't know how you're going to really be shooting without a camera, but I don't know. You figure that one out. But my rig starts out with this baby right there. Focus up. Boom. So this is the Panasonic Lumix GH5. Yes, it's kind of an old camera. It's from 2017. We're in 2020. Honestly, when I was in the market for cameras this year, because I picked this up in January actually, this was the best camera that fit my needs. I primarily am always shooting fitness, behind the scenes, fly on the wall type of run and gun style things. This has some of the best in-body image stabilization I had to fit my budget also, because you could pick this camera up now as I'm recording this, which is August 31st, 2020. I don't know why that took so long to figure out. But yeah, you can pick this up for maybe a little over $1,000, which is a steal in my opinion. So yeah, Panasonic Lumix GH5. And then, look, my thing is, this may be a little bit basic, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going to be using the Sigma 18-35 f1.8, but I'm not going to be able to get that on here without this bad boy right here. So this is the Metabones Ultra Speed Booster. So there's the one normally everybody else always uses, the 0.71 times speed booster. I went with the 0.64. Now I know if you use the 0.64, there's some slight vignetting you get at the widest zoom range. I don't ever really shoot at 18 millimeters, and when I do, I'm using that live view crop mode. But I've never really been affected by the vignetting, and whatever downsides I lose in vignetting, I feel like I made up for it in terms of getting that extra little bit stop of light, just so I can get a little bit cleaner, because we all know one of the downsides of Micro Four Thirds is that, well, the cameras kind of suck with low light because the sensor is like slightly bigger than that of a GoPro. So let me get this on here. So that's what that's going to look like. Now let's get the lens on. Boom. So basically, with what I have right now with just the GH5 speed booster and the Sigma 18-35, you can get great images. You're going to have great in-body image stabilization, so all your shots will be smooth. So pretty much with this setup right here, you're going to get great shots. But if you want to go the extra mile, which is why I'm guessing why you're here, or maybe you're like me and you're just like on a, I don't know, marathon of just watching mad cinema rig videos, then, well, sit back and get comfortable and watch the rest of the shit I'm going to throw at this camera. The next thing you're going to need when you start rigging out your camera is always a cage to build around. So I went with the Smallrig Cage. Smallrig cages I've used for pretty much all my cameras. I have no complaints. Prices are great. Build quality is awesome. The thing is a tank. I'm pretty sure you can knock somebody out with this, or at least crack their skull. Not that you should try that, but like, I feel like you could. Let me get this on here. And then honestly, I feel like everyone should run a cage on their cameras, just because in the off chance that you drop it, I know we all say we're not going to drop it, but hey, sometimes things happen. You leave it on the roof of a car, you turn around, you look back, your camera's falling on gravel. That sounded kind of specific. It may or may not have happened to me. Just going to put that out there. The next thing I'm going to be running on this is this top handle, just so you have like another point to grab from. And then also there's a general theme of the way I always put together my camera builds. I don't know if you can tell with this hand, but that finger's a little jacked up, so it's a little bit difficult for me to grab cameras in the normal way everyone else can, because you can kind of see, like, I can't get my hand like all up on the grip that's supposed to be there, just because this finger doesn't really articulate properly. So I'm always running extra handles, side handles, whatever, on every rig I've ever built. So let's just get this on here. I'll be leaving the links down below for the names of all of these items. I currently don't know all of them offhand just because Smallrig doesn't name anything. They just give it a bunch of weird numbers like it's a Mercedes-Benz or something. So all the links and names will probably be on screen at some point, and if they're not on screen, they will be down in the description below. So make sure to check that if you're interested in building a rig similar to this, or if you're interested in any of the parts that I'm using currently. The next thing you'll need at this point is something to mount all the accessories to your cage, and normally that always works with a 15mm rail system and a base plate. So the base plate I went with, you can take a guess, Smallrig. So it's this cage right here, and you're also going to notice that there are two different size thread mounts, and they're made to match up with the bottom of this cage here, which also has the same two size holes. So you're just going to mount that up. It's pretty foolproof at this point. You can't really mess it up. I'm retarded and I can figure this out, so I'm really hoping you guys can get this for me. Oh yeah, and the great thing about this Smallrig top handle is since it has this little Allen key, that's the same exact size Allen key you need to attach the bottom of the base plate to this with the little fasteners. So I'm just going to get on that. Alright, so the base plate is now mounted and it's starting to come together a little bit. I also like having the base plate on there because, I don't know if you can tell here, but it kind of keeps the camera elevated, so when it's resting, you're not literally resting on your lens, which you'd rather not rest on your lens. Not that it's going to really do anything if it's just chilling like this, but just gives me a little bit of peace of mind knowing I'm not just resting here. But as you can see, it's a little bit off balance, so let's get these 15mm rods on here and get this shit cranking. Another thing I like about Smallrig stuff is that for the base plate and a lot of the other accessories, they have these little thumb screws on here, so you don't have to carry as many tools with you. Pretty much all I ever have in my camera bag is just this little filter case I had from a couple years ago. I just fill it up with a couple of the Allen screws that always come with Smallrig stuff, a couple of the extra pieces of hardware they always throw in, and then I'm good to go. I'm not going to hard fasten the rails in yet just because I kind of have to shift it around to compensate for all the rest of this other stuff. So let's get into that. Now, like I said before, I kind of don't like when my lens is just chilling like this because it's not the heaviest of lenses, because I mean, I know there's cinema lenses out there that these things weigh like 80 goddamn pounds. Not actually, I know. But I just don't like all that weight hanging off of the camera, especially because there's an adapter in between here. So that explains the next purchase, which is this. So this is another Smallrig piece, and it is going to be the rail-mounted lens support. I don't know if that's the actual name, but you get what I'm saying. And like I said, everything will be listed somewhere here or down below. And it's pretty straightforward how it works. Just slide it over the rails. Get that lower probably. Get it to a point where it's not going to be interfering with either the focus ring or the zoom ring. Prop that up. The way I normally do it is I hold the camera here like this first, so I know it's at least not leaning up or down. Press that up against it, but not hard or with any actual force. Turn that tight. Now you're good to go. The lens should stay in the same place constantly. You don't really have to worry about your lens mounts getting pulled at or breaking at any point in time, unless you try to straight debo the camera, at which point I can't help you. Currently there is no power running through this whatsoever, which leads me to my next piece. I have this VMount battery here. Pretty straightforward. There's no real reason to go over that in too much detail, but I'm just going to show you a close-up of it anyway. It's honestly, I think, the smallest capacity available for V-mounts, which I will put the number up here somewhere. I've left the camera running for about 12 to 14 hours straight, like just on, not even turning it on or off for I don't know what reason. I just kind of wanted to test it out. And this battery was just trooping the entire time. So if you're worried about battery life, you don't need to get those brolic ass batteries, the ones that look literally like the size of a small book bag for your camera. You don't need that much. This is more than good enough. But then again, I don't know your power needs or how you're using it, so take the information that I just gave you and work with it for your needs. Now you'll notice there's no actual way for me to mount this V-mount battery on here, which explains this purchase here. This is pretty straightforward. It's just a Smallrig V-mount plate. It's not any of those crazy V-mount plates like the one from Tilta where it actually allows you to split more power so you have more D-tap options. This is just regular, mounts up, click-clack, good to go. But even with that on here, there's still no way for me to get it on the rail system, which was the purpose of this. So this is just a general tool or just a general piece that I guess you would use to mount any type of accessories on. I chose to use it to mount this V-mount plate to here so that I could get it to the back of this camera. So let me do that now. So as you can see, these two pieces are now mounted together, and then also I guess just one of the hang-ups on the way I have it set up, when you try to attach it to the rails, and I'm just going to show you an example right now, the rails will be hitting the actual V-mount plate that I attached, so it's going to be right here at the back. So pretty much you're going to want to set the distance as far as you would need it for your setup from right here, or pretty much from the back of the rails, and then if it's sticking out too far in the front, then I guess you might need to take a saw or something and then cut it off. But for my purposes, this works out well, so I'm just going to tighten it on here now. Some of you who watch a lot of these videos might have noticed that this is on, I guess, upside down. This is upside down compared to the traditional way that most people mount their V-mount batteries. This was the way that I was able to get it to mount up to the plate properly and to get it to work for my setup. And honestly, I kind of prefer this way, and here's the reason why. So, one, this lock isn't a weak lock. Like, when you're here, like, you can yank the hell out of this, and it's not going to come off. Two, I also like it because there's a lot of times when I'm shooting, I will rest the camera like this. So a lot of the weight is now being pushed here. If it was mounted the other way and I was actually worried about it popping out, then this would be a worrisome thing. But right now, with it being rested, if I push down, if anything, I'm just pushing it back more so into the lock position, if that makes sense. Now, the V-mount's hooked up, but how is it providing any power to this? You're going to need a dummy battery of some sort. I got that right here. This is just a basic dummy battery for the GH5 that goes to a D-tap into this. So let me set that up now. And boom, there you go. That's like literally 12 straight hours of power on the camera right there. One of the reasons that I also built my rig out was to kind of add more weight to it, because the heavier your rig is, the less impact that your footsteps and any little micro jitters will have as you're moving. So as I'm walking around and doing more of a run and gun style type of shooting, the weight of this will kind of smooth out any footsteps that I have on top of the amazing in-body image stabilization that this camera already has. So just all this stuff adding up together, once all the weight is in and the stabilization that the Panasonic has inside it, you put those two things together, the footage is going to be buttery smooth. It's not going to look like a gimbal, obviously, but it's going to be pretty damn close if you know what you're doing and if you've been shooting handheld for a while. So that's kind of the reason why I like building up so much weight here. But let's get on with the show. Now, you may have noticed, let me pick this up so y'all can see, there is a little hot shoe mount right in. There's a cold shoe mount right there. So I put that there because I was trying to find a place to attach this Rode Micro Plus. I like using this for a lot of the stuff that I'm doing because I'm literally running around car shops or gyms, so I just kind of, I'm already right up close to the person. This is more than good enough for me to get solid audio with, but I guess if you wanted solid scratch audio, this is also an option you can use. So I just mount that up right here. This is the Tilta Mini Matte Box, I believe it is called. Mini clamp on, yeah, the Tilta Mini Clamp On Matte Box. Now the reason I picked this up, it's 40% good reason, 60% kind of stupid, but hear me out, please don't bring out any pitchforks on me. 40% was, yes, I actually do like having the matte box here to prevent flare because it has this little hood right here, right? So if I'm shooting outside, which I do shoot outside a lot of the times, it's going to prevent the sun from coming in and any weird light from coming in at the other sides. The other reason I got it, which, like I said, don't bring out any pitchforks, when this is on here, your setup instantly looks that much more professional. Now, I know it's kind of like a weird thing that goes on with shooters, camera guys, all of us in this profession, where we start buying equipment just to look more professional, which I have always been against, and I'm still against, right? This is just one of those ones where I was like, I need it, and it also does help with that purpose, because for some reason, people who don't know cameras, so for those of us who are uninitiated, you could say, when they see a matte box, they instantly think, God damn, this camera's amazing. You could be pulling up with a Nikon D3300, but if you have a matte box on your camera, people instantly see more value in you, which means, hey, you might be able to ask for a little bit more. And you know what that means? I could probably get more filters and probably bigger matte boxes or more camera equipment. So it works. Everybody wins. I'm not mad at it. Now, to get this to work on the camera, you're going to need a couple of things. First things first that I needed was this little step-up ring. So the filter size on the Sigma is a 72, I believe, and I needed to adapt a 77mm thread. So first let me get this on here. So that's there. Then they have these little step-up rings from Tilta. You're going to mount that on here. Then now that that's on there, you just press that up against the lip that's currently on the ring. And boom, your setup instantly looks way more professional just because there's a weird piece of plastic on here, but it actually does serve a functional purpose. But if you're just trying to flex a little bit and get some more money out of your clients or other potential clients, there's your move right there. Not that expensive. It's a win in my book. Alright, and the next piece that I have here is the Atomos Ninja V, the Atomos Ninja V, whatever it's called. You know what I'm talking about. It got the red letters up top. It's all good. Now, on its own, the GH5 can get great picture quality, but when you're running an external recorder, it unlocks that much more out of the camera. So when I'm recording with the Ninja 5, the main reason I'm using this is just because I can shoot at a higher bit depth and I'll get more color information, which will make the color grading process a lot easier in post, and will allow you to get a lot crazier with your color grading, so you can kind of, you know, pull more information out of the highlights, more out of the shadows, all that other fancy jargon and techno lingo, right? And then the other reason I like it is just because I'm currently still editing with my laptop. I haven't really found the need to upgrade to a big computer. So the file sizes that this uses, they're a lot less compressed than the ones that the GH5 will record internally. As a result of the files being less compressed, it's a lot easier on your computer, and you'll notice it. Like if I'm editing a 4K file straight out of this, the fans on my laptop are just spinning up like crazy. It sounds like a nuclear generator. When I'm editing with this, it sounds like I'm not doing anything harder on the laptop than watching a YouTube video, right? And that's just because the files are less compressed, so it's a lot easier on the computer to work with. So those are the main reasons I like running the Ninja 5, so let's get it on here. Oh wait, I can't get it on here because there's no monitor mount, and that explains the next piece right here. So this is just a Smallrig cold shoe mount, pretty straightforward, and if you look at the handle that I have here, there happens to be a cold shoe, so I'm just going to mount that on. Now I'm going to keep it real with y'all. There's a couple options for handles. There's that one that looks like a T, right, where you could kind of slide it along and do all that other stuff, and then there's this one. I honestly got this one just because in my head, this shit looks mad cool. Like this little bending shit it got here, that's sexy. Like, that's sexy, alright? You feel good about your rig, you're going to feel good about your shots, going to feel more confident, and then you're going to get better shots, I think. I don't know. That's what I tell myself, and it works. So, do what you will with that information. Now, we have the monitor mount on. Get the Atomos on that bitch. So, we're almost all the way there now. The next thing is you got to power this Atomos because it's a power-hungry bitch, and it uses those NPF-style batteries. I happen to get a NPF 970 battery. They're pretty brolic, as you can see. For me, when I'm shooting, one of my clients that I shoot for, it's a car shop, so I pretty much shoot the entire day that they're open. So pretty much from 10 to about like 7 p.m. some days. These two batteries will be more than enough. By the time I get to the second battery, when I leave, it has about 50% still left in there. So it works out well. And then also, for the whole spiel I had about adding more weight, this will do it for you. So for storage on the Atomos, they give you these little caddies. All I did was I did the same basic thing that everyone else does with these. There's that little 2.5-inch SSD. I got the 1 terabyte version of it. I think it was a little over $100 if I remember correctly. It just slides right on there. Now I know there's those angel bird caddies where it doesn't really stick out, because if you guys can see from right here, it sticks out from the side a little bit. I honestly don't mind it just because it gives you a really easy way to just grab it and then just stick it right back in, and then you're fine. Now, last thing to go is just all you need is an HDMI cable. I got that right here. It's a cute little braided cable. I had another cable before that came out with a right angle up into just a straight, I guess, 180 connection. The only issue I had with that is it was able to record fine at 23.98 frames per second. The minute I tried to bump it up to 60 frames or 59.94, it immediately just gave me problems. Like, I couldn't, like, the Atomos would just say there's no input detected just because I guess it couldn't do the data rates fast enough. So I've just been rocking with this cable here. I'll leave the link to it below. Honestly, I don't think you really need to go that ham with the cables. You don't need to go ham and get that Atomos cable because that thing is like $100 for like what reason or whatever the price is. It's an HDMI cable. Atomos, calm down. Okay? There you go. And then let me just kind of explain the reasoning behind everything that is on here right now. So, first things first is this hand right here. Right? I almost broke that finger off, so I can't really articulate it. So grabbing a camera in a normal way on a right hand or using a right handle isn't really an option for me. So that's why I like opting for top handles. Also, most of the time when I'm shooting a fitness style edit, or I'm shooting people in the gym. So I try to make people look larger than life, both through editing and then also physically. So I'm always kind of holding the camera below my chin or about, like, you know, at the level of my torso, pointing up to always give people an upward angle, which also explains why I have the monitor mounted here, just so I can look down and always make sure I'm seeing everything that's in focus. You'll also notice there's a general lack of a follow focus on the side. I was running one for a period of time, but then the only thing that started happening was when you're using the follow focus, you can't really support the weight of the camera with that hand because you're using the follow focus to, well, pull focus, right? So that means all of the weight of the setup, which is about 10 pounds when I weighed it, is all on your wrist. Now, for like little 10, 20-second bursts, that's fine. You're shooting all day with this, your wrist feels like it's going to fall off. So I literally that day just kind of threw the follow focus off. I just hold the camera pretty much under this rail here, and then I pull focus here. I've been fine with just running and gunning like that, have not had any issues. I was also at one point running the little wooden side pistol handle here. The only issue I had with that is with this cable setup being that it sticks straight out the side, it was bumping into it, so that even me holding my hand, you could see now, I'm really close to the cable, and then I didn't run into an issue where I did it, but I don't want to have it happen where I happen to nudge that cable and then just cut off the footage, and now I'm sitting there waiting because there's a slight boot up time for this Atomos. Another concern that you guys may have with the setup is that this microphone here happens to be relatively close to the Atomos, which does have a fan. The fan for the Atomos is on top, and the mic is down below. Now, yes, if you're in a perfectly quiet environment, you might be able to pick up the audio from the Atomos on the Rode mic. I personally haven't had that issue. I've been shooting in quiet environments, loud ones. I haven't been able to pick up the Atomos within this recording here. If you're on an actual film set, this probably won't even be an issue for you because you guys are probably pulling audio from somewhere else completely different and you're getting a clean audio feed. But if you're run and gun like me and you're just a one-man operator solo dolo and you're rocking like this, do not worry. The mic is not going to pick up the wind noise from, or not the wind noise, the fan noise from the Atomos. Honestly, it's barely audible as it is. You can't hear it unless you're like in a church or something, and well, at that point you're going to hear the camera, like, I don't know, you'll hear the battery drain in a church, right? I think, I don't know. So yeah, this is my Pansonic GH5 run and gun rig. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you found any useful information out of this video at all, please leave me a like. Leave some comments down below. If you have any suggestions for this rig, leave those in the comments below too. Just because I think most of us know when you're building out these rigs, you're never actually done. Like, we might say we're done, but it's kind of like when you're building cars and you're like, hold up, that right there looks kind of dope that I just saw on that other guy's car. Same thing with the rig. You might see something dope on someone else's rig and like you might want to try it out yourself. So if you guys see anything that I can add here that you think might help me, hey, let me know in the comments down below. But once again, I'm Sway. Thank you for checking out this video. And if you want to see more shit like this, just subscribe.